Your galleon scout on the parapet calls out there's a Xerixian star moth dead ahead. The crew prepares the cannon that was stolen from a great bombard, loads it, and fires, lobbing a hunk of metal the weight of many men in their direction. The star moth takes evasive maneuvers, but is too late. The 500-pound metal ball pierces the star moth's broadside, breaking the ship in twain. The scout is the first to shout, "Hit!" followed by, "We got him, Captain Obert!" The captain orders the wizard to set a course for the wreck. As you approach, you see severed limbs and viscera strewn around, floating free in wild space. Eventually, you come closer, and a boarding party readies themselves to harvest gold, jewels, and crystals filled with starlight. When suddenly, a noble attired woman appears on deck and doffs her face shield, revealing an elderly face wizened by years spent in the astral plane. She grabs a hold of a crystal and begins reciting an ancient prayer in a language foreign to the crew. She stands tall, and radiant energy begins coursing through her, and out the golden energy emerges a young solar dragon. Will the crew survive encounter with an astral elf? Today's video, I'm going to tell you about the Astral Elves. So first, what does the book tell you? Well, Astral Elves were among the first creatures to inhabit the Astral Sea. Astral Elves are easily distinguished from other elves by the fact they regularly cover their face with visors to become faceless extensions of their god. The fierce devotion is reflected in their divine magical power, which allows them to channel radiant starlight through their weapons and even summon solar dragons. Astral Elves traverse the Astral Sea in spelljammers of their own creation, such as the Star Moth, or in floating citadels on petrified corpses of long-dead gods. Although Astral Elves primarily live in the Astral Sea, they often venture into wild space to forge pacts with solar dragons and to collect starlight. They also use this time in wild space to have and raise children, something they cannot do in the Astral Sea. There are many old Astral Elves, with some being tens of thousands of years old, which gives them perspective few mortals have. Some Astral Elves live a life of adventuring, others live as explorers, and there are some who forge alliances, such as the Xerixian Empire, which is encountered in the Light of Xerxes adventure. All Astral Elves, at least the ones presented in the book, speak three languages: Elvish, Common, and Celestial. Next, about stats. So there are 5 stat blocks for Astral Elves shown in the book: the Aristocrat, the Commander, the Honor Guard, the Star Priest, and the Warrior. Let's start with the Aristocrat. Aristocrats are the toughest variant shown in the book. They have the impressive ability to sometimes 50% chance summon a young solar dragon for 10 minutes. The stat block features some impressive mental saving throws and a powerful quote-unquote radiant beam, dealing 4d8 radiant damage on a failed DC 16 con save. It's limited to 3 times per day, which is a fine trade-off. At least it's not the roll a die to figure out how many ammunition they have, like in Glory to the Giants, but I digress. The Aristocrat also features a 3 times per day reflavored Misty Step called Starlight Step. Next, the Commander. So, Astral Commanders are said to captain small fleets of 1 or more spelljammers. They imbue their attacks with starlight, dealing extra radiant damage. They're also said to be able to rescue warriors who fall over void into the void with their twice per day teleport, which is quite nice. Next, the Honor Guard. Honor Guard are the elite warriors who wear half-plate and wield scimitars imbued with the starlight to deal extra radiant damage. Then the Star Priests. So Star Priests are a support cleric type creature, which sometimes lend a hand in piloting the ship. They're clerical magic, but it also act as emissaries of the gods. They boast impressive attacks, being able to substitute one of their Morningstar attacks with a quote-unquote Rain of Radiance, which forces one target in a 60-foot range to make a DC 16 dex save, dealing 5d8 radiant on a failed save, which is impressive for CR4. The Star Priest also has a nice suite of spells, including but not limited to Cure Wounds as though it were cast at 8th level twice per day. If the Star Priest hits with a Morningstar attack both times, it deals an average of 42 damage per turn, which is 18 points more than an equal CR Black Pudding, or 20 more damage than an equal CR Chul. Lastly, the Warriors. So Warriors are the chaff. They're the grunts, the muscle. They're the weakest of the Astral Elves presented in the book, not possessing any spells and channeling starlight less than other entries, dealing an average additional damage of 3d6. So, in conclusion, Astral Elves are interesting, and they're interesting for organized and civilized enemies and adversaries. They have a clearly defined culture. There's the Starlight theme, which ties the various stat blocks together. Astral Elves are also a playable race, but the post Tasha's book of everything, homogenization of racial options mean that there's very little separating the playable racial options, so I'll not really cover them. I'm more interested in monsters anyway. The race makes for interesting encounters. The visors seem to lend almost to a science fiction aesthetic rather than a science fantasy feel that Spelljammer's more typically known for. I really like the aesthetic, but I would like it for all Astral Elves except maybe the named NPCs to have their face shrouded with custom visors. The depiction of star priests irks me a little bit. I want a clear, unified direction on the visor aesthetic. So, uh, interesting. Stat blocks I really like. Floor I really like. I give them a 17 out of 20.